What's up guys, my name is Liam, and today we're going to be taking a look at the GutzyAiden Proline series gaming mouse pads. There's been a lot of incredible high quality mouse pads coming out this year, so this is another one to add to the list. But where's this going to stack up in terms of performance, and more importantly, is this going to be the perfect gaming mouse pad for you? Let's check it out. Before we get started today, I did want to let you know this was sent out to me. However, everything you're going to be hearing in this video today is going to be my own words and my own opinions. This did arrive to my front door in this flat box envelope style, so real easy to store and put aside if you need to carry it anywhere, travel with you without having to worry about getting it damaged. This does come in a couple of different designs, and I'll go and throw those up here on the screen for you. I did actually opt for the white version, and the dimensions are coming in at 490 millimeters in width by 420 millimeters in height, and it sits at 3.5 millimeters of thickness. The base consists of this honeycomb polyurethane foam, and it feels identical to the other IPU or pour-on style bases out there. It was incredibly sticky once I set it down on my desk, and I actually had to peel it off my desk before I was able to adjust it and move it around. They use an anti-fray stitching, and it does feel incredibly premium. It sits below the base itself, and it looks identical to something that's on my Artisan FX Zero. The plushness of the base, it feels really good. You can push into it. It doesn't feel like it's too plush, or it doesn't feel like it's too firm. It honestly feels right in line with my Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro that's also sitting at 3.5 millimeters in thickness. The type of polyester, however, they did use, it is a little bit different. The actual strands themselves are waterproof, and I did test this out. It did seem to work really good. Even when it got really humid, this pad seemed to perform pretty consistently for me. And the one thing I do want to note about the actual performance itself is as I got this on my desk out of the box, it did feel quite a bit slower and actually a lot muddier. When I first got it out, it does have a break-in period, and then once it does break in, you do get a lot less of the muddiness feeling, and the pad does open up a lot and get quite a bit faster. And I do want to say that the performance on this bit honestly feels incredible. It feels in line with something like the Artisan FX Zero, Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro. It does have a pretty smooth glide across the surface, and it is a little bit on the quicker side of these control style pads, but the one thing about the performance is I do feel like it has a little bit more of the initial static friction than something like the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro. So even though you do get a really nice speed with it when you come down and you are making the micro adjustments, there is just a slight bit of tugging there, and I do feel like it is pretty easy to stop on this. And I do want you to keep in mind that as I was testing this out, all these tests were done here with the Logitech G Pro Superlight 2, since this is obviously the most popular gaming mouse out there, and I do actually have the Tiger Ice V2 skates on here. And you get pretty typical performance as you do with these other polyester pads. If you are using a mouse with these smaller corner skates, you do get a little bit less of that initial static friction as you're making the micro adjustments, and the glide overall across the surface, it does feel a little bit quicker. I was also testing this out with glass skates and with the sapphire style skates. I do feel like the glass skates, they do have a smoother glide than the PTFE. The PTFE feels a little bit more scratchy on the surface, so other than it being a smoother glide, overall these glass skates, they do feel a little bit more muddy, and you do get, I feel like, a little bit more stopping power, so they don't necessarily feel as fast as the PTFE skates to me. And when it comes to the sapphire skates, I do feel like these are the second fastest style skates that I tested. I did get a lot less initial static friction there, and overall you do get a quicker glide. But with these sapphire skates, I do feel like you still get a great sense of control and even stopping power. And then finally, if you are using dot skates, you do get a lot faster of an experience. You get a lot less initial static friction, and the overall glide just feels faster as well. All right, so first off, to describe what the surface is actually like compared to all the other similar style pads out there, both of these pads, they do have a really smooth glide across the surface. I do, however, feel like the GutzyAiden Proline is just slightly a bit faster than the G-SR-SE, though they are really close to each other. But when I am putting more pressure, the weight of my hand down, and I'm tracking and trying to actually push into the surface, I do kind of feel like the G-SR-SE, it does have a little bit greater of sense of stopping power, and it does feel a little bit muddier down in the micro adjustments than the GutzyAiden, but again, they're really close. These are just real minor differences. So let's go ahead and drop a speed comparison test of the Zowie G-SR versus the GutzyAiden Proline. Next up, when comparing it to the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro, this is the newer version, 3.5 millimeter base. Again, the overall feeling of these pads, they do feel very similar to one another, with the GutzyAiden just feeling a little bit smoother on the actual texture on the surface. But the performance of these are actually different. I do feel like the the GutzyAiden pad across the surface when you're gliding, it does actually feel quicker than the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro. But the one difference is, however, is when you're getting down and you're making the micro adjustments, I do feel like the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro, it feels a little bit faster, smoother, and just a little bit more slippery. Whereas on the Pro line, I do feel like you get a little bit more tugging when you're going back and forth. So I do feel like there's a greater sense of control, again, when you're doing the micro adjustments, but when you're going across the surface, the GutzyAiden does feel quicker. So let's go ahead and drop a glide test between the Lethal Gaming Gear Saturn Pro and the GutzyAiden Proline. And then finally, when testing it against the Artisan FX Zero in the dye orange colorway. The surface of the FX Zero has a lot more texture to it, again, where the GutzyAiden feels a lot more flattened out and a lot smoother on the actual surface itself. And the actual speed of these two, they are pretty similar to one another. The glide on the Artisan FX Zero, it does just all around feel faster. So slightly a bit faster on the actual dynamic friction once you get up and going. But the static friction is where these two are kind of different from one another in my opinion. I do feel like there's a lot less static friction on the Artisan FX Zero, and again on the GutzyAiden Proline, it does give you a little bit more tug, and I feel like you have a little bit more control down in the micro adjustments. So let's go and drop the speed comparison between the GutzyAiden Proline and the Artisan FX Zero. All right guys, so that about wraps things up on the GutzyAiden Proline. I've been really enjoying its performance. It uses all top of the line materials, and I would definitely give it 2 thumbs up. All right guys, so if you have any questions or feel like I left anything out, please let me know down in the comments below. If you've enjoyed watching this video and you're interested in seeing more videos like this in the future, please drop this video a like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next one.